Hey everybody, Ray Bango here at Wicked6. I'm here with Bob Gourley, CTO of OODA. Now OODA is a really unique name. Why don't you tell me a little bit? And you told me about it, and it was a tongue twister, really.
Right.
But if I remember, you said it has to do something with fighter pilot mentality. So why don't you tell me about
Yeah,
it?
so OODA stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. And it was a fighter pilot strategy articulated by one of the greatest fighter pilots ever, Colonel John Boyd of the U.S. Air Force. He was a pilot who could not be defeated. All the pilots wanted to challenge him. He led the Air Force Fighter Weapons Training School, and he was pulled back to the Pentagon to explain, how are you so good? And he described it as a model, the OODA loop. He said, I observe, I orient, I decide, and I act fast.
Gotcha.
And I do that faster than my opponent, and I continuously do that. That's the OODA loop. And we picked the name for our company as a homage to him and that model. But also in the cybersecurity world, it is so relevant because that's what adversaries are doing in your networks.
Okay.
And that's what we need to do faster than them. We need to make sure our OODA loop is moving quicker than theirs.
Got you. And I know that when we were talking, you mentioned that you felt the Wicked6 games is kind of like a testament to that it's kind of like the way that we should be training the next generation of cybersecurity professionals.
Right. So in one way, we saw, every seat there was a cybersecurity, cyber professional. But in other ways, what we had sitting there were fighter pilots who were flying in the networks and observing what the adversaries are doing and then making decisions and acting on those decisions fast and then watching the adversaries react. So those people were using their OODA loop today, the winners were definitely at the top of their game using the OODA loop.
Gotcha. And so how do you envision actually training folks in an OODA loop? How do you? That's a process in itself. I can't imagine it's just like one day somebody's going to act on that. I'm assuming there's a methodology to this.
Well, there is, but maybe the most important thing is an attitude, and it's words like agile, and understand that throughout human history, our biggest mistakes in warfare are to assume that our adversary won't change. This goes back, to the ancients. We assume that the adversary has been defeated, and they're not creative, and they're not dynamic. Well, they are dynamic. So the way to really leverage things like the OODA loop is to understand your adversaries are creative, thinking individuals that if they have an objective, they're not going to stop. So you need to be dynamic and creative and agile.
How does OODA come into play in this?
Well, OODA is a consultancy, and we produce a lot of content at oodaloop.com that talks about ways to be more agile, but also talks about the risks today. What's going on that everybody needs to know about? OODA also helps organizations become more secure by reviewing plans, policies, procedures, and we help organizations understand the risk and the environment that they're in.
Gotcha. And so how do we minimize the risk using OODA? Give me a little bit more context on that.
Well, I'd say one way is, I mentioned the word agile before.
Yep.
Stay agile and then stay informed so that you can figure out where the puck is going, orient yourself, make decisions, and act. So staying informed about the threat, the dynamic changing nature of the threat as it applies to your situation and your business is key.
So from a product perspective, obviously, in order to protect the landscape, there has to be a combination of human intervention, but you have to have products that can complement you. So how do you envision this let's call it synergy between humans and products, especially when we're talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, bringing them into the conversation and bringing them into play to help us make more informed decisions?
Well, we all understand that our adversaries are not technologies. Our adversaries are thinking human beings, and I mentioned the creative piece of this, but technology is so important. What technology are they using? What's their tactics because of that technology? And then on our side, what's the technology of our enterprise, and is it ready to be defended? And are there things we can do to change it to become more defendable? So although this is, on our side too, a human problem, technology can definitely play a role. One thing that every cybersecurity professional always says is patch your stuff. Stay patched. You got to stay patched. The operating system, the applications, and everything in between, and monitor because the adversaries will get in, and when they do, you have to know it.
Right.
And that gets back to this OODA loop too. Once they get in, they're on your turf now.
Right. No, definitely. So let's talk about AI for a second, because one of the things is everybody talks about AI within the context of defense. Hey, we're going to build these AI-infused products. And I think that's great. But have you started seeing anything with attackers capitalizing on AI and maybe machine learning?
Yes, Ray, that's a great question, because that is absolutely a wave that we're seeing right now. It's a mega trend. Adversaries are using machine learning in both some of the code, the worms that they send out, or the code where they try to deceive your systems. But also adversaries are realizing that the AI we use can be deceived. So this is adding to a long list of problems with AI. AI already has problems in being hard to understand because a machine learning algorithm can change over time. It can become corrupted over time. We've all seen examples of AI becoming biased, for example, and needing to be changed and needing to be monitored. Now add on top of that the fact that adversaries realize your AI can be deceived. What this means is we need new methods and models to evaluate AI. So we have a security framework for evaluating the security of artificial intelligence. And we recommend every company, not only just secure your infrastructure, but watch your models, make sure your models have not been interfered with, watch your data, make sure that has not been manipulated, and understand when your artificial intelligence starts behaving erratically and be able to return to a known good state.
Gotcha. So let's talk about AI models. So not everybody's familiar with AI. In fact, I'm not an AI expert by any means, but we have a lot of students back there, and a lot of students that might be interested in precisely what you're talking about. If they were going to think about AI modeling or maybe risk assessment capitalizing on AI technologies, what is it that they should be thinking about studying, that type of stuff?
Well, I think studying the classic data science is extremely important. That's going to teach the algorithms of machine learning. In just your college level textbook, you may learn 200 machine learning algorithms. But the thing I think people really need to learn is this is not just about the algorithm, it's about all the things around the technology. There's technical things outside the algorithm itself, like your data storage and data movement and all of that type thing. And then there's the non-technical pieces of a good AI solution, which will include your business plan, your policy, your training, your human resources, and cybersecurity has both technical and non-technical components of AI. So I think for the student studying this today, I would underscore that you need to study both the art and the science of artificial intelligence. The science being the computers and technology, and the art being all the policy and important objectives of why you're doing this.
That's great. Now, where do you see events like Wicked6 come into play here?
I think Wicked6 for me is a very exciting venue that's allowing us all to watch people perform in an arena, in a competitive environment, and show their stuff, really. And it's just so exciting to watch these, some of the best collegiate, cyber experts compete head to head in a very sophisticated platform. And then to watch the audience participate and cheer and, and just pull them on. It was just a wonderful event. And I would like to see the Wicked6 just continue to grow and become something even bigger. Maybe we need to do this monthly instead of yearly.
Well, there you go. I think we should do it definitely monthly. I think that'd be really great, a really great way of kind of promoting cybersecurity, building the educational landscape, but also giving an opportunity to gamify cybersecurity, make it fun. And anybody I've ever talked to who's done a CTF always comes back raving about it. It's fun. Right. So imagine now being in front of a television screen and, like you said, being cheered on and pulled into the excitement of it. I could see this being on par with traditional esports that are going on right now, so I can see that.
I agree. And Ray, another thing that I noticed that was very different this year, or very different than I have seen in any capture the flag, was there was a policy component where these young thought leaders were asked, hard policy questions, and they had to create and come up with a policy solution, and they had to brief that in front of an audience and judges that asked them hard questions.
That's great. It's that critical thinking aspect that a lot of students don't quite have yet, and they develop over a period of time. And I think this is a great example of how to help them develop that skill much earlier and get them to think a little bit about the business implications of the work that they do. Because whether you're launching a cyber attack, if you're a pen tester, a red teamer, or you're defending a corporation, you have to think about the business implications of everything you do. And so I love the fact that they're making them think a little bit critically on that.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. It's a pleasure to talk to you. This has been wonderful. And I agree with you. AI, I think, is definitely a part of the conversation. I think we need to do better risk assessment. And it sounds like OODA is doing the right things.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, thank you.